Hello, Duke fans. Welcome into the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. Happy to chat with you guys today, as well as every single day, about the Blue Devils. As the days go by, Duke fans still processing, still getting into off-season mode after one of the most stunning collapses in the history of college basketball. We don't have to talk about it too much anymore. Duke fans know what went down. Duke fans feel the pain as well as the rest of the program. But bright side is there is a lot to look forward to for Duke fans and for the Duke program heading into the 2026-27 campaign. Outside of Cameron Boozer and Malik Brown, the only guaranteed exits from this club, a lot of interesting decisions to be made between key rotation guys like Isaiah Evans, Nick Hamenya, Dame Sarr, Caden Boozer, Patrick Gungba. A lot to be made in terms of their futures and their respective decisions, whether to head to the NBA, potentially hit the portal, or return to Duke. Have to talk about potential portal exits, but Duke really more so than any other program has not dealt with much portal trouble whatsoever in terms of losing key guys under John Scheyer's reign, sort of in this NIL era. But in the grand scheme of things, a lot can happen, especially with so many guys who are probably not NBA ready. And with Duke bringing in the number one overall 2026 recruiting class, the third straight season, John Scheyer and his staff are bringing in the number one overall recruiting class, headlined by Cameron Williams, five-star recruit, the number two overall player in the class, according to 247 Sports 2026 composite rankings. Deron Rippey Jr., the number one point guard in the class, according to 247 Sports, and Bryson Howard, the third five-star commit, the number 12 overall player in the class. Duke, one of three programs in the 2026 class with three five-star commitments. Duke is also bringing in Canadian seven-footer Maxime Meyer. He is a four-star recruit. But we're through the first four seasons of John Scheyer's career, and after that second collapse in a row, and really how Duke has lost essentially all of its games over the last year or so, obviously John Scheyer is going to have that, collapse or that choke tag on his name probably until he wins a national championship. John Scheyer has been extremely successful in his first four seasons as Duke's head coach. But when you are the head coach of a program like Duke, arguably the most storied program in the history of the sport, that pressure is just going to follow you. It's just part of the job. It's part of the business. We just saw UNC's Hubert Davis be let go because UNC was bounced in the first round of the NCAA tournament for two straight seasons. He was Roy Williams' handpicked successor, and he only made it 5 years. There's just more demanded when you're a coach of a blue blood program like a Duke, a UNC, a Kansas, a Kentucky, a UCLA, something along those lines. And obviously John Scheyer is at the pinnacle of that. And, he has been arguably, you really can't ask for more than what he's been able to do in four seasons as the head coach at Duke after taking over from Mike Krzyzewski. But when you are the head coach of a program and a storied program like Duke, just regular success is not going to cut it, whether you like it or not. Obviously, I think if you're a Duke fan, I don't know what else you could possibly have asked for, obviously, besides the national championship. Besides that, the success has been unprecedented, especially in his first 4 years as Duke's head coach. Obviously, when you're at a program like Duke, with the pressure also comes all the tools and resources and NIL money in the world to be able to succeed, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's that easy. John Scheyer has been absolutely fantastic. He has developed guys to get to the next level quick. He has, I think, gotten the most out of his talent. He's now had the National Player of the Year in his roster 2 seasons in a row, with Cooper Flag or Cameron Boozer this year and Cooper Flag a season ago. Sure, could you make the argument he has underperformed with that talent? That's another discussion to be had. But we're going to get into grading John Scheyer for his first 4 seasons as Duke's head coach, and the official grade is going to be an A. I don't know what you could make or what you could, critique him of to give him less than an A. The only way it's an A+ is if he has a national title, which he does not. Now, we're going to start with the positive for John Scheyer and everything he's done right, because we all know kind of the obvious point of what's been going wrong. But through his 4 seasons, John Scheyer has compiled an overall record of 124-25. That's an over 80% winning percentage. He's the fastest coach in the history of the ACC to eclipse 100 career wins. That includes 3 ACC tournament championships, 4 trips to the NCAA tournament, 3 trips to the Elite Eight, and a trip to the Final Four, while bringing Duke to a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament for 2 straight seasons. So that's just a little snapshot of his success over these first 4 seasons. And when you break it down, what more could you really ask for? And he's winning games, he's winning big games. He hasn't won a national title yet. But again, I think a lot of people forget that Jon Scheyer is 38 years old. He has been a head coach for 4 years, sure, at a program like Duke where you are succeeding. He underwent probably the hardest success job in the history of the sport, taking over for arguably the greatest coach in the history of the sport, and Mike Krzyzewski. When you have that program to take over, the resources are always going to be there, but it's just not that easy. And Jon Scheyer really hasn't missed a beat. Duke lost in the round of 32 in his first season, then went to the Elite Eight, then went to the Final Four, then went to the Elite Eight, a 1 seed in back-to-back years, the number 1 overall seed this year. And then sure, there's the other side of that, which Duke has probably had the most talented roster in college basketball for 2 straight seasons and got a Final Four out of it and got an Elite Eight out of it. Both of those were because of historic collapses, somehow 2 seasons in a row. Sure, there's that side of it. But when you look at the good he's done, I really don't know what else Duke fans really could ask for and what you could expect from him, obviously, besides a national championship. But even winning a national title in your first 4 years as head coach is a really hard thing to do. It took Mike Krzyzewski 11 years to win his first national title with Duke. He went on to win 5. And after he won his first, he won his second the year after. In 1991 and 1992, we know in 1992 that Christian Laettner shot in the Elite Eight had Duke on the other side of that sort of buzzer-beating collapse. Not necessarily a collapse by Kentucky, more of a barn burner game, but we get the point here. But and then so when you think about all the positives of Jon Scheyer's career, there's so much there, and sure. And then we're going to look at the other side of it, and that's the fact that time and time again, Duke has been unable to close out tight games. It's not even just these 2 collapses in the NCAA tournament these past few seasons. If we go back to last year with Duke against Kentucky, very, very early on in the season in the Champions Classic, Jon Scheyer had Cooper Flagg in one of his first games of his collegiate career. Granted, we all know how incredible Cooper Flagg was. Just had him kind of run an ISO play, and he turned the ball over. Did the same thing in the Final Four against Houston, which ultimately lost Duke the game. But at the end of the day, he's inheriting the hardest success job maybe in the history of the sport, and he just hasn't missed a beat. Simply put, he's been fantastic. We'll get into these last 2 collapses. So aside from the 2 NCAA tournament collapses, all of Duke's most recent 4 losses in general have been a result of folding double-digit leads in the second half. That was to UConn in the Elite Eight, to North Carolina on the road in the regular season, to Texas Tech at Madison Square Garden also in this past regular season, and then to Houston in the Final Four. So in the 2025 Final Four, Duke was once again in full control of that Houston team and looked like it was about to get to its first national title game since 2015, held a 66-59 lead on the Cougars with about a minute and a half to go. Duke was outscored 11-1 across that final span to fall 70-67. Duke became the first team to have a higher field goal percentage, more assists, more free throw attempts, more steals, and fewer turnovers than its opponent and lose the game. Previously, teams in the NCAA tournament that marked those boxes were 335-0. And then against UConn, we all know it. It's still fresh. Duke was up 19 at one point in the first half, held a 15-point lead at half, 44-29. Previously, 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament that held a lead of 15 or more at half were 134-0. They are now 134-1. So sure, is there critiques? The consistency is there with the critique. Obviously, Duke has had trouble closing out big games over the last couple seasons. It's just the way it is. And we get that. And that sort of collapse tag is going to be with Jon Scheyer until he wins a national championship, for better or for worse. It's part of the job. It's part of the business. It's part of the brand that is Duke. But at the end of the day, the success that he's had cannot be taken for granted, and it also has to be appreciated just as much as the negatives. Once again, Jon Scheyer is 38 years old. He's in his 4th season as head coach. I understand he was a Duke assistant for many years before he eventually took over for Coach K, and he was the handpicked successor, but it's just not that easy. And Jon Scheyer has been able to keep Duke not only relevant on a national scale, but as one of the most competitive programs in the country. This past season, Duke went 11-2 against AP top 25 opponents. Not only was that the most wins over ranked opponent of any team in the sport this season, it tied for the most wins in a season over ranked opponents since the AP poll was created. Jon Scheyer does not shy away in terms of scheduling a gauntlet for his guys, and it's going to pay off sooner or later. But his grade is an A. The only thing I would make it higher is a national title. I don't know what more you could ask for him at this point. Duke has ran the ACC since he took over for the most part. Again, 3 ACC tournament titles in 4 seasons, back-to-back ACC regular season titles. Just don't know what else you could possibly ask for him. Jon Scheyer, we appreciate you. You are a top 5 coach in the sport, and he will get his national title soon enough. But that is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Make sure to check us out at si.com/college/Duke every single day to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI, and I'll see you tomorrow.